skyline view when we exit the islands. But for now, we're going to continue down Long Pond over here. That's the name of this body of water. It's about 1 kilometer in length. It's nice and straight. On the left, you saw the yacht club. It's the Island Yacht Club on Bugs Island. One of the few islands that is kind of private. There's no bridge that attaches it to any of the other islands, and the only way onto it is if you're a member of the yacht club. So this is literally the only island that I have not personally been on. I've only been on the dock, and that's about it. I have no idea what it looks like, but I'm sure it's nice and fancy. But the rest of the island, if you look here, it's a lot of trees. Same thing over here on the right, technically part of Center Island, but a lot of it is undeveloped. And that's because we have plenty of space as it is. We don't need to tear down all of the trees, and we do have a lot of wildlife on the island. Especially this close to the city, it's surprising, but we have over 200 different species of birds out here. You can see some usual ones right now, some mallard ducks in the water. We've seen seagulls, cormorants, herons, cranes, blue jays, cardinals, orioles, Arctic terns, snowy white egrets. There are tons and tons of different kinds of birds out here. Lots of wildlife on the land. We've got mink, muskrats, beavers, red foxes, coyotes as well. Every once in a while in the spring, if we're lucky, there are some white-tailed deer that are on the islands. 2 years ago, there was some deer out here. They usually show up during the winter when the water here freezes, because of course it's fresh water, part of Lake Ontario, and they could walk across to the islands. There is one bird that we have way too much of out here in the islands. And I haven't seen them that much this year. That might be because there's less people out feeding them, but we have over 10,000 Canada geese out here. Have you guys interacted with Canada geese before? No? Okay, good, don't. They're mean.
Yeah?
Like literally, they're very territorial. Like, they're pretty, if you leave them alone, they're kind of okay, but if you get too close to them, especially if they have kids around, they just get really, really angry. And the big birds. We actually tried to control the goose population in the islands years ago in a really, really interesting way. Like a lot of people have tried over the centuries and centuries with animals. We tried to control the population by bringing in another animal that would control the population. So we brought in raccoons. Raccoons don't hunt geese, they don't eat geese, but they do eat eggs in the wild. That's one of their main food sources. Tons of goose eggs out here. The idea was bring over raccoons, they'll eat the eggs, and there'll be less geese. Perfect. The only problem is that the city also had and still has a raccoon problem downtown. So they brought downtown raccoons instead of raccoons from the woods. Downtown raccoons are very smart, and they only eat one thing, and that's garbage and leftovers. And there's tons of that in the islands. Tons of people bring food, there's restaurants, there's garbage everywhere, so they didn't really touch the goose eggs. So we still have the same amount of geese that we had when we started, but now we have even more raccoons. So it's going really, really well. Oh, just up there ahead of us on the left, on those bare branches up in the sky, you can see a bunch of blackbirds. Those are the cormorants. They're just hanging out in the branches, drying off. They're actually a really cool bird. They're fishing birds, so they dive down. But the reason they can dive so deep and they're so good at it is because they don't have the same kind of oil glands that other birds have on their feathers. So like ducks, they can kind of bob, they can kind of go down a bit, but they float right back up. That's what they're made to do. Cormorants, if they don't dry off in the sun, they sink. So they're good at diving, but then after they eat, they do have to hang out in the sun so that they can actually fly off somewhere else. Now I mentioned the park space and the airport.